Welcome to all our listeners. Thank you for joining this podcast from Argus, the leading provider of energy and commodity price benchmarks and market intelligence. We track and discuss the markets and prices that move our world. My name is Jade Delafré, and I'm the head of the Global Agriculture team at Argus. My colleague Natalia Gianetti joins me today to discuss what is happening in the Brazilian soybeans and corn markets. For more insights into these markets, we produce a daily agri-markets report and a weekly Chinese supplement focusing on global grains, oilseeds, and veg oil markets. Our fundamentals, forecasts, and balance sheets are presented in our agri-markets outlook service on a weekly and monthly basis. So let's get to it. Natalia, my first question to you is, can you tell me more about the farmer selling pace for the 2023-2024 soybeans volume?
Sure, Jad. Since the 2022-2023 crop, we are seeing here in Brazil a historically slow pace for farmer sales. That began around late 2022 when producers believed that prices would maintain an upward trend during the harvesting months for the 2022-2023 soybean crop, that is between January and May. But the oversupply of the international market with a record Brazilian soybean crop that year pressured prices and discouraged farmers from selling since then. Producers are seizing moments when the circumstances are more economically favorable for them, such as when the exchange rate is rising to sell their crops. But that does not provide a steady rhythm of negotiations. For example, in January, they sold 2 million tons throughout the whole month, while sales totaled about 15 million tons in April. Now, the gap between the actual farmer selling pace and what market participants consider ideal has narrowed, but it is still pretty much significant, of about 4 million tons until the beginning of July. The 2023-2024 soybean crop ended June at about 96 million tons sold, or about 65% sold of the total output.
Right, I see. And what about 2024-2025 volumes? Is any information available already on the new marketing year?
The numbers for the next soybean crop are still a little bit uncertain, Jad, but what we know so far is that up to 20 million tons were already traded until the beginning of July. If we consider what the current USDA outlook for this crop is, that would be about 12% already sold, which is roughly in line with the 2023-2024 sales a year ago, but below the average of 20% negotiated for this time of the year.
Thank you, Natalia, for this explanation. I'm sure a number of market participants will keep monitoring the selling pace of Brazilian farmers for the 2024-2025 volumes. Now, let's move to corn. What about the selling pace for corn? Is it also delayed as we're seeing in soybeans?
Yes, Jad, corn sales are even more delayed than soybeans. Similar to what happened with soy, farmers expected corn prices to continue rising in early 2023. They start holding back sales for the 2022-2023 season during the first half of last year. But the global oversupply continued pressuring prices down since then and discouraged producers from maintaining a steady pace of sales. What makes the situation even worse for corn is that when the exchange rates or grain prices are going up internationally, producers prefer to sell soybeans, which has much higher prices, delaying corn sales even further. Brazil's 2023-2024 winter corn crop, which is our larger crop and the one we export most, was about 35% sold by the end of June. That compares with 40% sold a year ago for the prior crop and an average of approximately 60% sold for this time of the year.
Thanks, Natalia, for this overview of the farmer selling pace, which is clearly well below long-term averages. I wonder, doesn't this risk causing logistical bottlenecks or exceeding the Brazilian storage capacity? How would farmers respond to that?
It should cause a risk, Jad, but so far we are not seeing any hurry in the corn and soybean sales related to that. But some market participants already expect that farmers may have to accelerate sales very soon, as the soybean harvest was already finished last month and the corn harvest is approaching its end in most of its main producing states.
And with the soybeans harvest completed, what is the current official forecast from CONAB for the 23-24 crop?
CONAB currently estimates 147.3 million tons for the cycle and will consolidate the numbers for the season in September. But until then, it is unlikely the production outlook would change much. Of course, there are still some revisions to be made related to sound area, the higher yields registered in the center-western states late in the cycle, and the flood that hit Rio Grande do Sul a couple months ago.
I see. How does this forecast compare with the initial outlook for the season?
The 2023-2024 soybean crop was initially projected by the National Supply Company to produce a record of 162 million tons, but all of the five main producing states suffered from bad weather conditions this past year. The center-western region, where Mato Grosso, the largest soybean producer, Goiás and Mato Grosso do Sul, which rank fourth and fifth in the national ranking, are located, was under the influence of the El Niño weather phenomenon between December and January. During these months, above average temperatures and extremely dry weather conditions hampered yields in these three states. Besides that, Paraná, that was initially expected to be the second largest producer and now places third, suffered from excessive rainfall during the planting months and extreme drought in the beginning of the harvesting season. And most recently, Rio Grande do Sul, that is the second largest soybean producing state, was hit by an unprecedented flood between the end of April and beginning of May. The flood completely soaked the 25% of areas that weren't yet harvested at the time. Some crops lost all of their productive potential.
Right, and looking out to 24-25 now, what do we know for now about planting intentions for soy and corn in Brazil? Are farmers likely to favor one over the other?
For soybeans, planted area is expected to rise in the next season once again, as has been the case for the last 17 years. But the increase may be lower than what we have seen in the latest seasons because of the current lower international soybean prices. Farmers planted about 46 million hectares in 2023-2024, and the first forecasts for 2024-2025 are of approximately 47 million hectares. As for corn, there isn't much about it yet, but it is likely that the low prices will discourage farmers again this next year. We already saw a retraction of planted area for the first and second corn crops in the 2023-2024 season because of that. Since then, prices dropped further. Producers are likely planting less than the almost 21 million hectares from this season.
And even with the unfavorable weather conditions in this past season and prices discouraging farmers, Brazil harvested a very, very large crop this season and will likely do it again in 24-25. Now, where are all these volumes going to? Where is demand mostly coming from?
CONAB forecasts that Brazil will export 92.4 million tons of soybeans this year, of which 75.4 million tons were already shipped in the first half of the year, according to the National Association of Cereal Exporters, ANEC. Exports were higher this year than the first 6 months of last year, which reflects the more accelerated pace of negotiations in the end of 2023, when prices for next year's shipments were favorable. China received 75% of these volumes and is the main buyer of Brazilian soybeans. The country is also likely to continue to prefer the Brazilian product in the next few months. The Brazilian origin has been more competitive for now than the US one. In addition, as the US gears up for this next presidential election later this year, Chinese traders are cautious on buying US new crop soybeans because of the uncertainties around US China trade flows under a new administration. Market participants report that China booked 31 million tons to arrive between July and September, with most of it coming from Brazil. For corn, CONAB expects exports to total 33.5 million tons, while ANEC estimates that 9.3 million tons were shipped so far. Brazil's corn exports usually pick up in the second half of the year, but the real highlight of the season is the domestic demand, with both the animal feed and the corn ethanol sectors set to reach record levels. Brazil is projected to produce 6 billion liters of corn ethanol in the 2023-2024 season, a 36% increase on the year, according to a survey by Corn Ethanol Union. So watch this space.
We definitely will. Natalia, thank you very, very much for your time today. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jad. Bye-bye.